Good Chodesh. The Divrei Torah this evening are Lili Nishmas Pero Bas Avrom HaKohen and Esther Bas Menashe Tzvi. The Shamas should have Aliyah and be Melit Yosha for Kol Teatzem and Kol Beis Yisrael. The Rashi at the opening of the parasha brings from Rav Simloi, Dorosh Rav Simloi, Kshem Sheshirotzo Shel Adam Ba'achrona Kach Taraso Nis Parsha Ba'achrona. Just like man was formed last, so also his Torah was explained last. Man was the last thing created in Ma'aser Bereishis. So also Hilchos Tumah V'Tara, which is called Torah Sa'adam, the Torah of man, was also explained after the Torah of the Behema Chaya Va'ofos that were created before him, as per what we read in last week's parsha, the laws of kashrus, what pertains to Behema Chaya and Of, what's kosher, what's not kosher. In previous years, we discussed the obvious question of why should kashrus be called Torah Behema Chaya Va'of, right? They're not the ones who are mitzvah in kashrus. We are, and we discussed that already. We're not going to discuss that tonight. Got a chazer. What we're going to discuss tonight is just the very simple principle that's being put forth here. Just the structure. If just like Adam was created last, so also his Torah should be explained last. Presumably, Rav Simloi is saying the principle of Achron Chaviv. Right. Last thing is is the most valuable and is the most cherished and is the ikar. Right. Now the truth is we have to ask a question: when do we say that? When do we not say that? Hare, when giving kavod, right? So let's say by an aliyah, right? So you have to give kavod to the kohen, the kidashto. He gets the first aliyah, right? And the Levi the second, and the Yisrael the third. If Achron Chaviv should have been Yisrael, Levi, and Givio Kohen Shlishi, but we don't say that. Right, over there, that the one that is holier, the one that's loftier, comes first. Right? And similarly, we find this in Tanakh, like Rashi by the pasuk on, the names of the Benos Tzlafchat, Chagla, Noah, Milka. Right? So Rashi says they were listed. The one mentioned first wasn't the one that's oldest, the one that was most chashuv. All right, that's why Chazal tells sometimes we have Aaron and Moshe, sometimes Moshe and Aaron to teach you that they're equal. Right. All the idea that the first one is the ikar, and the one that's tafel, right, is on the lower level, comes second. So when do we say Achron Chaviv? What? Yeah, right.
When they went to meet Esau.
Right. Although that wasn't, it's true. Also Achron Chaviv, he was, but over there, it was a little bit different because that was pragmatic. The Achron was not to give honor, was to give protection, right? Yeah. Right. Otherwise, meaning if they wouldn't be threatened by us, we would probably reverse the order and put Rachel and Yosef first.
Because Rachel is after Chaviv.
Right.
He's saying to protect them.
No, over there it's not a riot because over there was to protect them, not to give them honor. Right. Right. Now the truth is, this is the duality. This is the difference between Shabbos and today, Rosh Chodesh. Right. Shabbos is the last day of the week. Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni. Right. Shabbos is the seventh day of the week, and it's the holiest, right? And Rosh Chodesh is the opposite. Rosh Chodesh is the first day of the month, and because it's the first day of the month, that's why it's holy, and that's why there's an element of simcha. So how does it work? When is it going? When Chashivas is from first to last, or just the opposite? Chashivas is from last to first. So Rav Zevin in his sefer La Torah L'Moadim, posits a very simple svara. Just because things are in a sequence, just because there's a first, second, third, and fourth, it depends why they are in that sequence. Right? You could have two reasons for having a sequence of first, second, third, and fourth. Right? There could be that something came first because it is the source, and everything else is just derivative from it. So, of course, if that's the reason for the series, because the first was there literally because it was there first, and it is the facilitator, and everything else that came after it is simply following it and derived from it, like Hemshech Hadoros, the generations. Right? We don't say Achron Chaviv and my parents have to honor me. No, I use my parents, but I have to honor them. Right? Because they're the source, they're the makor, and I am derived from them. The same thing goes by leadership, right? The leader is first because we have to follow him, right? So, by whether it's political leadership or spiritual leadership, we follow the Kohen, right? So, of course, in leadership, the most chashuv goes first because we have to follow them. Right, so there's things are following because they're tafel, because they're either derived from, like toldot, right? They are progeny, or alternatively, they're simply following the leader, right? And that sequence, the first is most chashuv. But there's another type of sequence of first, second, third, and fourth, of where I am working towards a goal, right? And that's the bechina of Yom HaShabbos, like we say in the tefillah of Leil Shabbos, Ata Kidashis Yom HaShvil Shmecha, Tachlis, Maaseh Shamayim Va'aretz. All of Maaseh Shamayim Va'aretz were leading up to that goal. So when it's an issue that the sequence is because you're building up to a goal, of course, the goal is the most chashuv. That's what we're working for. That's what everything is there for. Right? When the sequence is because there is a leader and there are followers, there's a source and there are derivatives. Of course, in those two scenarios, the first thing is the most chashuv. The other things are following the first, right? And therefore tafel to it. Rosh Chodesh, right? The Kedusha of the month comes into the month on the first day. And that's why by Rosh Chodesh, like Rosh Hashanah, right? It is the most important day of the year in certain aspects because everything that's going to happen this year follows what happens on Rosh Hashanah. Same thing on Rosh Chodesh. We have one more day to get it right? That, everything that's going to happen this month, the bracha that HaKadosh wants to bestow upon us this month, it comes into reality. Its battery is the very first day of the month. And that's why by Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the month is the chashuv, because all the other months are being nizon. They're getting their power from the Rosh Chodesh. This is the day when the mazel takes its reign, and the mazel of the month first, gets set up, and all the other days are just following it. And that's why by Chodesh, right, the first day is the most chashuv, Rosh Chodesh, and by the week, the last day is the most chashuv. So I want to, with this, turn my thoughts to Sfiras HaOmer, right? A sequence over here, a series, right? Al Pneim Shel Dvarim, in the simplest way to look at it, is that it is sort of like Shabbos, right? And maybe it's by no coincidence called Sheva Shabbatot, 7, go through 7 Shabbosos, right? Because the Tachlis is Shavuos. And you see it from the sequence, right? We're counting up, we're not counting down. It's not a countdown, it is a count up that, Shavuos is really constructed out of the days of the Omer, and Shavuos is the Tachlis of the Omer, like Shabbos is the Tachlis of the week. And it's not just, loose philosophy. This is the halachic truth. Shavuos doesn't have a date. There's nowhere in the Torah that say a date for Shavuos. Right? The only date that the Torah ever said for Shavuos is it's the 50th day. And so back in the old days, when we were Mekadesh al Pi Re'iyah, right, the Gemara says openly, Shavuos could shift every year. Right? Sometimes Shavuos could be as early as the 5th day of Sivan, if there would be only one day Rosh Chodesh Iyar and only one day Rosh Chodesh Sivan. Right? On a year where the Edom came late, so you have a 2-day Rosh Chodesh, they come in on Mincha V'Lamala. So let's say you would have had a 2-day Rosh Chodesh Iyar and a 2-day Rosh Chodesh Sivan. Excuse me, and that scenario comes out on the 5th, I meant to say. Right? And vice versa. Right? If you have it, there would just be a 1-day Rosh Chodesh each time. It could come out as late as the 7th. By us, it always comes out on the 6th because we're locked in a Kavua Luach. Right? We're locked into a set calendar by Hillel Messiah, right? And in our cheshbon, there's always a 2-day Rosh Chodesh Iyar and always a 1-day Rosh Chodesh Sivan. And that's why by us, it comes out like clockwork every year, Vav Sivan. But it doesn't have to be that way. The Torah never set a date, right? It is, the 50th day. Now, so there's two interesting halachic issues to that branch out from this. That first and foremost, what could work to our benefit, but it should never happen. Chas v'shalom, right? Let's say we go back to being Mekadesh al Pi Re'iyah, right? But the Sanhedrin that is Mekadesh al Pi Re'iyah gets annulled, gets abolished, right? Gets disbanded, right? As long as you had Pesach, you could still have Shavuos. Because Shavuos is not totally in when Bezin is going to be Mekadesh Rosh Chodesh Iyar or Rosh Chodesh Sivan. It's the 50th day after Pesach. So seemingly, if you had Pesach, you could still have Shavuos. You just count 50 days later, right? That's one point to think about, right? Another thing is, the mystery that the poskim are baffled by, why there is even such a thing, right, as Yom Tov Sheni of Shavuos, Right? We don't care. It is insignificant when the Bezdin was Mekadosh Rosh Chodesh Sivan. We don't need to know. We don't need to know when was Rosh Chodesh Iyar, when was Rosh Chodesh Sivan. You need to find out when was Pesach, and you could do every Jew worldwide. They could just find out when was Pesach. They could do the cheshbon for themselves, and that's why the poskim are baffled. So they don't understand why there is a second day Shavuos, because back in the old days it was a real suffix. Many countries around Eretz Yisrael probably didn't keep 2 days Shavuos, because they just did the cheshbon themselves, and it remains a mystery in the poskim why we keep 2 days Shavuos in Chutz La'aretz, and seemingly it's a type of low plug. But the point that I want to get back to is that it is not as simple as I just said, right? Because seemingly Shavuos is a product of the Sphira, it's the Tachlis of Sphira, so like Shavuos is to the Omer, like Shabbos is to the days of the week, right? But there is something else. We mention something backwards. We say Lo Omer. Why are we looking back? We should be saying it says toward Shavuos, right? And we're counting back. Right, because the truth is that the Omer is also totally in Pesach. Right? Now it is Mimacharas HaShabbos. That is the date of the Omer. The day after Pesach is when the Omer starts, and this is reflected in the counting. We're also looking back. There's been such and such days since we brought the Korban HaOmer, looking back towards Pesach. Right? Because the truth is like this. Shavuos and Pesach are both not in the count, even though the count is linking the two of them. Because, now, Shavuos is not in the count because Shavuos is the goal. The goal is bigger, right, than the build-up. It is the whole that is greater than the sum of the parts. Right? It's the tachlis. It's not the 50th day as if it'll be just one more of the series. It is the whole that's constructed of all the numbers, which explains the reason for what we have, Al Pi Metzorah Parasha Ba'al Peh, not to count the day of Shavuos itself. Count up to it, but not it, because it itself is bigger than the set. It's the whole that's the bigger than the sum of the parts. But Pesach is that way also. The first day of Pesach, which is the date that the Torah set the date of the Omer relative, Mimacharas HaShabbos, the day after. And Pesach itself not being a part of it. Right? Because the truth is, as the Chidush HaRim says, the days of the Omer have power and spiritual value on both ends. It draws power from Pesach, right? Because what gives us the power now to count up to Shavuos? If not all the power that we got on Leil Yitzias Mitzrayim, that's the battery that empowers the Omer to be special days where we have special siyata dishmaya to purify ourselves, like we say, l'tarenu l'kadshenu, because we have Yotzei from Mitzrayim, HaKadosh who purified us from the tumah of Mitzrayim, that energized us that we could draw in on that power, use that battery and spiritual reserves to start purifying ourselves. So in a certain way, the Omer is drawing power from Pesach. So and Pesach is like Rosh Chodesh, and the days of the Omer are like the rest of the days, and that's reflected saying Lo Omer, right? That is where we got our power from the day after Pesach, right? After God purified us with Pesach. But it's also building up to, right, Shavuos. And Shavuos also being out of the count because it's the whole that's built out of the sum of the parts. All right, so Omer has both. In the words of the Chidush HaRim, it's with this we can say in a cryptic saying, Chidush HaRim told us Hasidim, he says, Pesach, Omer, Shavuos is klal ufrat uklal. Right? Right? Like the midah of the Torah, klal ufrat uklal. Right? That we got a general power for all the days of the Omer from Pesach. Right? And then during the Omer, day by day, we're working on detailed applications of the power that we got on from Pesach. But then you come to Shavuos, and that's the sum total of all these efforts. So the days of the Omer are very special, that they are, on the one hand, drawing Pesach from, power from Pesach, like the days of the month draw power from Rosh Chodesh, and it's also leading to build up, right, Shavuos, the grand Tachlis, like the days of the week build up to make Shabbos. Right? And we'll just end up with one more quick thought, that Shabbos also has this duality. Right? Even though Shabbos, in the simplest understanding, is Tachlis, it's the final end, it's the Achron Chaviv, like man was created last, it's the Tachlis of everything. But it says Rav Simcha Bunim Pershischa on the famous Gemara, right, that says, Umo Yishro Shtei Shabbos Miyad Yunigom. If we just keep 2 Shabbatot, we'd be redeemed. You want to say, why the number 2? Why not 3, or why not just 1? So he says like this from Simcha Bunim. Really, one good Shabbos is enough. right? Right? One good Shabbos enough. But you got to have a good week, right? Shabbos is produced out of the week. You got to have a good spiritual week to produce, at the end of it, a good spiritual Shabbos. How are you going to have a good spiritual week? You got to draw on the power of the Shabbos before. So really what Chazal meant by Shtera didn't mean just one Shabbos and then a few months later another Shabbos. They didn't mean that. They meant Shabbos that energizes the week, and because the week will draw koch from the Shabbos that you just had, so that's why the week will be good and produce the big Shabbos, right? The ultimate Shabbos with the koch of having such a good Shabbos will get our goals through Herabi Ameinu.